We can add items and notes in several different ways. First, we can come up to the plus icon here, click it, and select the item type that we want to add, or we can find others by clicking the More link. And this will allow us to enter information by hand for an item type. We can also add items by using an identifier. In the bar, we can add a web address, a URL, an International Standard Book Number, ISBN, a Digital Object Identifier, DOI, which is a super stable web address associated with scholarly publishers for the most part. That may change in the future, but for now, it's primarily scholarly publishers that are using the DOI system. We can also add a pubmed identifier, PMID, which is a unique identifier associated with the PubMed database, or, and I am not exactly sure how to pronounce this, ARXIV identifier. I've read about this database, and I've actually used it a little bit, but I've never heard anybody pronounce the name of it, so I don't know how they pronounce it. Anyway, this is a collection of pre-publication scientific papers. So writers will post them, and then people can comment on them, and it's a way of getting some feedback. Let's take an example. So right now I've got loaded up a DOI, and that's from this publisher's website on this pretty well-known article in Indigenous Studies. And I've copied and pasted the link, added it in here, and it shows up. It pulls, Zotero pulls this publication information from the publisher's website. It is conceivable that there may not be, that some information may be missing. Although most publishers are pretty good about adding all of this information, but there could be instances where we need to add a little bit more. But generally, that's all going to be filled in for us. There is also an extension for browsers that allows us to add web pages or web content to Zotero. So let's come out here to an article, and well, I guess a column, an opinion column in this case. So the link appears right here when you get it loaded up. Just looks like a blue document icon. Save to Zotero. You'll have the opportunity to choose which file, which collection to put it in. You can also tag it from here if you'd like to. I'm not going to do that right now. And here, come back to Zotero, and here's the item. And it pulls the information from the website, so the descriptive information that they have associated. Now, one thing to point out here, websites are relatively inconsistent in adding this descriptive information, so we may end up needing to add a lot of these item details as if we use web pages. So just have that kind of in mind as we're using this extension. We can also add notes up here. If we click the note icon, notes in collections are kind of general about the collection. So these can be good places to add notes about a paper, ways that different items relate to one another, work timelines, assignments, or milestones, those kinds of things. And that's what those can be useful for here. We can also manage items in our collections with these three icons. So with this one, for example, add to collection, we can add an item from a collection to a different collection. so it'll be associated with two collections. We can, with this one, we can remove, so with the folder with the minus, we can remove an item from a collection without removing it from the library. So that can be helpful sometimes. The trash can icon, you can get rid of something in your collection. It will remove it both from the collection and from the library, however. So if you still need to hold on to something, be very careful with how you get rid of it. These other icons are associated with exporting bibliographies, and we will get to that in just a bit.